It's right. We are back with 5 players that your league mates may be scared to draft, but you shouldn't be on today's edition of The Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom talking about Justin Fields. Yes, Justin Fields, because part of that is the new coaching staff, the new direction, the new front office. Fields is a running quarterback. Running quarterback's going to be top 10 quarterbacks. Tim Tebow couldn't throw, and he was a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Justin Fields is someone that people are scared to draft. Maybe they shouldn't be because of him, his rushing ability, and some guy named Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, there's an association between Justin Fields and disappointment. It seems like during the Bears era of his career, we were always drafting him where we thought he could get to. And then last year with the Steelers, he was really an afterthought in fantasy drafts last year. Remember after they signed Russell Wilson and then the Kenny Pickett drama happened and that resulted in trading for Justin Fields. You could get Justin Fields at the end of drafts last year. And for the first 6 weeks before Russell Wilson replaced him, it was up and down, but it wasn't that much different than, say, Kyler Murray, who's still going ahead of Justin Fields in drafts. But as you said, Cease, this is a fresh start for Justin Fields. He has his number one receiver that they both said that there's an affinity there, and they would love to play together in the NFL. Now they're doing it. But perhaps most importantly, Cease, the name we have to make sure people know is Tanner Engstrand, coming from the Detroit Lions. And when we look back at Justin Fields, how good have the situations been with the Bears? Even last year with Arthur Smith, do we associate Arthur Smith with players hitting their fantasy ceiling unless they're the second tight end? So I don't think that we have incorporated into Justin Fields. Now, at least fantasy drafters are putting him around quarterback 10, 11, 12. But when we were optimistic about him with the Bears, he was as high as quarterback 6. So I think that it wouldn't be crazy if you drafted him there out of conviction that Tanner Engstrand will lean into Justin Fields' strengths, which are running, scrambling whenever the passing call breaks down, and throwing downfield. So I do think that we could see Justin Fields turn the corner and maybe not turn into a franchise quarterback, but for fantasy football, turn into somebody that so greatly outperforms his draft position that it gives you somebody who in any given week can match Josh Allen or match Lamar Jackson or match Jaden Daniels at a fraction of the cost.
A fraction of the cost. The cost is higher for Caleb Williams. The excitement is higher for Caleb Williams, but there's still some hesitation. I don't want to say scared. Don't be scared. If you're scared, go to church, Bloom, but go to the church of Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears with Ben Johnson running that thing. They'll actually watch film with the guy this year.
Yeah, that's the thing too. We have to say, are we going to give Caleb Williams a pass? And this is one cease where I kind of can relate to the people that are scared. Maybe not when it comes to drafting Caleb Williams, but when it comes to drafting Rome Odunze or DJ Moore, because, well, was it all the Chicago Bears coaches? The good news, Cease, is that notice I'm wearing my Detroit Lions shirt, and we're like 1 degree from former Detroit Lion offensive coaches, because the early talk, and Cease, I want to get your reaction to this. The early talk is that Ben Johnson has been tough on Caleb Williams in OTAs, in so much as people can see how the interactions are. He's been tough on him. Is that a reason? I think it might be, if we believe in Caleb Williams, that this is how you get the best out of him, is by being tough on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's the NFL. It's about overweight men and windbreakers yelling at you. So I'm not sure about Ben Johnson's belt size, but like, hey, go out there, get the best of someone, motivate someone, and try something different. Because what they did last year, which is basically ignore a number 1 overall pick quarterback, well, that obviously didn't work. And it's not Williams or the talent. The talent is the easiest thing to see. It's that heart, it's the desire, it's the drive, the motivation. Where does Caleb Williams weigh in there? That's what Ben Johnson is testing to find out.
Yeah, that's the most interesting thing about this, is that Ben Johnson was seen as the most coveted head coach candidate. I think that now by choosing this job, you assume that he got a load of Caleb Williams and said, we can make this work. And I think that it's going to either go really well or go really poorly. But I think that the possibilities with the offensive line improved, with the running game improved, like you said, Cease, I think we're doing math here. We're solving for X. How much of Caleb Williams' struggles last year were because of Caleb Williams? And how much of those struggles were because he had no structure around him? He had no effective coaching, no effective game planning. I think when we look at the plan that the Bears have put in place in terms of personnel, both in the offensive line and the draft, both of those things have been centered on helping the offense that could really help Caleb Williams come through for us at an ADP that is the same as last year, but now with an actual good coach.
Yeah, with a good coach, everybody. How's that going to change some things for young Caleb Williams? Bucky Irvin was amazing. 42% of the snaps last year. What was it? Over 1,200 all purpose yards. Don't at me, bro, whatever that number was, but it was a larger number for a guy that the Buccaneers got in the mid rounds of the draft, and they were excited last year. Fantasy GMs were excited. You're thinking about the future. You're getting even more excited when thinking about Bucky Irvin, yet there's still some pause and some hesitation. I've seen it on social networking where people are talking about Bucky Irving and having some trepidation of going back to the well with this young man. Is it his ADP too high? Is it some form of concern about him? All I know is I'm collecting Bucky Irving like baseball cards back in the day. Like that's what I'm doing in all of my fantasy leagues because I love his game and I love what more he can do. Again, he played less than half the snaps and still had over 1,000 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, that's the part I think that people are missing is Bucky Irving. Once he basically took over, and when I say took over, that they would go into the game with him as the primary running back. But like you said, his primary might be 50-55% of the snaps. Rashad White is still a pretty good running back. And they're also talking about getting Sean Tucker more involved. And the people should just put a pin in that. We'll mention Sean Tucker as much as we can to know that, hey, he's like the best third string running back in the league. And the Bucs are telling anybody who cares to listen that he is. But Bucky Irving, the Bucs did a masterful job getting the most out of him without exposing his weaknesses. What do we always hear about rookie running backs? Pass protection, right? I mean, that's where Rashad White comes in. But Bucky Irving in year 2 can improve and be on the field in different situations than he was in year 1. And the other thing I think that people need to understand, Cease, is that this Bucs offense now has Emeka Egbuka. It has a healthier going into the season Chris Godwin. So now there are dimensions, Jalen McMillan. You have even a vertical speed tight end in Devin Culp, played with Michael Penix back at Washington. And Josh Grizzard, the new offensive coordinator, who's really just the succession plan, just like Liam Cohen was the succession plan after Dave Canales. He wants the offense to be more vertical. That sounds like more room for Bucky Irving. I just got back from New Mexico, Cease, like the Roadrunner. Meep, meep. Yeah.
Ha, zip bang.
So yeah, drop an anvil on your opponent's heads when you take Bucky Irving in the second round because they think, well, just because he performed like a first rounder down the stretch, he can't do it again. Oh, he can do it again. He can be even better.
He can do it again. And I just found the tweet that I saw the other day, and I don't know who it was from. Everyone's the greatest ever, but like they said, Tony Pollard. I'm getting Tony Pollard vibes. Please stop. Like ridiculous. Stop. Let's talk about James Conner. And you had mentioned off air, Bloom, like he just keeps outperforming his ADP, yet his ADP never rises.
Yeah.
Trey Benson's a part of this. Kyler Murray's a part of this. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a part of this. Just the Cardinals offense in general. But James Conner, that guy, the fulcrum, the centerpiece, and people keep ignoring him.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, how James Conner can be better is based on the players around him being better because he can't really be better than he's been. But if the offensive environment is richer, because Kyler Murray's saying his knee wasn't feeling right at the beginning of the year last year, and he's ready to run more if Drew Petzing asks him to run more. Well, that's certainly something that can help lighten the boxes and create better lanes for James Conner. And then you mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. There's some talk that Marvin Harrison Jr. looks prepared to be better this year. The connection in the spring, that he's looking like the receiver that is going to be that alpha receiver in the offense, and the connection between he and Kyler Murray is looking a lot better. So all of these things would create more scoring opportunities for James Conner. And even if Trey Benson is ready to do more, if the pie gets bigger, that's okay. When James Conner, who's been performing perennially like a second, third, fourth round pick, and perennially is there in the sixth, seventh round. I got to give a nod to JJ Zacharyson. There's a stat he does where it's how much players outperform their ADP, and the cumulative. James Conner is one of the all timers. I know we're talking about just a short period that he's been tracking this, and it just shows a lack of respect, Cease. And when you hear lack of respect in fantasy football, that's something you can take advantage of.
Yeah, that means it's time to pounce. Not a lack of respect for George Kittle, but just I feel it's one of those things, and we've been doing this show long enough, Sigmund. I believe it was back in Marvin Harrison's day, like
Mm-hmm.
senior, not junior. It's 20 years of the Audible, everybody. And we had kept talking, at least myself, of like one day it's gonna fall off, one day it's gonna fall off, one day, and it never really did until it did. But is that the same thing that's going on with George Kittle and the hesitancy here with Kittle? It's like, well, he can't be that great forever, and then he continues to do it. So let's discuss his ADP and why others are still going ahead of him, that he's been outscoring, and in a
Right.
situation where he's still important, still got to be used by that offense. And George Kittle, yes, somewhat overlooked. Is it nervousness about the fall off, which may or may not happen whenever?
Yeah, I don't understand it either, Cease, because you can look at ADP, look at our wonderful football guys ADP, the page that Clayton Gray keeps up with all of the different sources, and you see that Brock Bowers is a second round pick, Trey McBride is a second, third round pick, George Kittle's a fourth round pick, huh? George Kittle on a points per game basis outscored Trey McBride and Brock Bowers. And even if you posit some improvement for Bowers and McBride, that can't explain that gap. Now, maybe it's that the Kittle, I believe, is 32. We associate George Kittle with injuries and being banged up. But if you look year after year after year, he finishes in the top three, top four at tight end. And that don't just mean on a points per game basis. He's available enough in a cumulative points basis to be a steady producer in terms of his floor. But what we saw last year, Cease, I think people don't realize, is his ceiling, his points per target with Brock Purdy. There is a connection there. And this 49ers offense could be exciting if Ricky Pearsall stays healthy, if Juwan Jennings, you have Brandon Ayuk back. So what the thing that I think people overlook, Cease, is that George Kittle showed, I think he was under 100 targets last year, and he was still the number one tight end. So he is aging like fine wine. He can play well through injuries. And one of the other things I want to focus on here is he's fun. He's, we don't have Marshawn Lynch and Rob Gronkowski, the joyful warriors. He's our joyful warrior. And you don't have to take him. His ADP dictates he should be going at the same place as Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. And that fear, I guess, of his age and his reputation, you can flip that and get the number one tight end in the fourth round.
You can flip the script. It's like fantasy football kung fu. Use your opponent's momentum against them to grab the players that you need. And that's why we're here to talk about it all, not only on our YouTube channel, and watch all of our Football Guys YouTube channels. We appreciate you for that. But also, we have audio only podcasts wherever you enjoy your podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, however, including the upcoming preseason watch list. It is our tradition every year, 20 seasons of the Audible this year. So it's 32 teams, 32 episodes, and every skill position player that you give a damn about, that is debuting in the month of July. So make sure not only to subscribe to our YouTube channel, but check us out how you enjoy your audio podcast. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey, saying thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?